I was in pure shock. I didn't
Yeah.
know what to say.
Oh my gosh, like I could actually like go home. I can't believe that. That was so brutal.
Welcome back. We're ready to talk about episode 2. So, little preface, if you didn't watch the last video, we've now entered the city, and we're now going basically into the first challenge after moving into the city.
Yes.
So, the whole day, we actually got to sleep most of the day, or just like chill around in the city, and then we ended up doing a night shoot for the first challenge. They came out and basically explained the rules and said we had to pick a coin out of a bag, and you get a random coin, and it either was labeled
1 star, 2 star, or 1 star or 1, 2 star or 2,
Yeah.
3 star, and so on.
Yeah, and so on. And then each coin had a little hint on the back. So I pulled 4 star and I read it, and it said "Hope you can catch," and I just sat there like, I think I can catch. I think I can do that. And I remember when I first pulled the coin out and like was talking about it with a little group of people, Tariq came over and was like, "So what does your coin say?" And I said, "It says, I hope you can catch." And he said, "So what do you think that means?" I said, "I hope I can catch, I guess." And then he just walked away. So I think it was pretty self-explanatory, but obviously everyone was theorizing what it could be.
Right.
And then what you originally pulled a 4, right?
Yeah, I originally pulled a 4, and I just had like this gut instinct. I was like, no. I was like, absolutely not. And so they gave us the time to like switch coins with people. And so the main group I had met at my hotel, the Delta crew, we were all talking about how we were all gonna go for 3. We're all gonna go 3 no star. And so I started like trading with people to try to like get 3 no star. And I saw a bunch of people I knew who had the original one I still had drawn, and they're like, "No, just stay with us. Like we'll be in it together." And I was like, "No." I was like, "I don't know why, but I should not be on that floor." I was like, "I can't do it." And so then I ended up trading until I got 3 no star. And yeah, mine said, what did it say? "Hope you can throw." And I was like, well, I can't really throw, but I don't know. I just had a better feeling about that than the original one I drew.
Or was it like, "Get ready to throw down"?
Oh,
I think that was it.
Get ready to throw down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So still the throwing vibes.
Yeah, still throwing, which I didn't feel good about, but
I think the other ones, the first one was use your brain, and then the second one was
less is more.
Oh yeah, less is more. So very like you cannot guess what the challenge is going to be based off that.
Right, and the towers all look the same. Like they all the floors pretty much look the same. So it was like we had nothing to really
go off of. So of course, again, the theories went crazy.
Right.
But after the trading was done, there was a point where they all like organized us into our groups, and then they said that 4th floor is gonna go first. And I didn't trade with anyone. I was just like, you know what? This is my fate. Whatever happens, happens, and I'm feeling good about it. And I was on the team with Athena, which I felt good about because we were like, all right, we're in this together. We either win it or lose it together. And before like we found out the rules and like who was going against each other, and even before the coins, I think it was, a lot of people were trying to theorize like if the same floor would go against each other or the floors would compete against each other. So like we weren't sure who was competing against each other at that time.
Yeah, we didn't know if it was tower versus tower.
Right.
Or like we had no clue what was actually happening. Yeah,
so like we couldn't really figure out or like kind of like strategize where everyone in like your alliance should go or something because we didn't know what was happening.
Right.
So then they announced 4th floor was going. So that's when we found out that like the same level is going against each other. So it's tower versus tower basically.
Right.
So we got up there, and that's when they explained the rules. And basically they drop the balls from the top of the tower. They bounce around on this little grate thing. I'm sure you can see it in the episode. And then they fall out of a random place. So you can like see the ball, but you never really know where it's going to drop. And basically you had to catch every ball, and the first team to drop a ball would be out, right? So my team gets together, tries to strategize. We're like, all right, we're going to be silent. And when you see a ball, you call it, and then you watch it wherever it bounces, and when it falls, you're going to call and catch it, right? So there was like a simple strategy, but I don't remember how many people were on our team.
It's like 60 people, I think, per
thing. Like around 60.
Yeah.
And as soon as they said go, the strategy went out the door. Like, there was no
Oh my
communication
gosh.
within the group. Like, everyone was just like, over there, you get it, no, you get it. And so
Oh my.
when it started, we caught the first 3 balls, and then I saw none of the balls came close to me, so the
Right.
responsibility was out of my hands.
Yeah, not your fault.
So it, like, to the left of me, I saw a ball fall, and you could kind of see, like, there was like 3 people kind of moving towards it, but then I guess
None of
they
them.
all thought one of them would do it, and then
Ooh.
none of them did it, and it fell on the ground, and we all just looked at each other like, oh my god. And then as soon as that ball hit the ground, the floor turned red, and we were like, oh my god, we're actually out. Like, we just lost. Like, so devastated. I remember when it happened,
Dude.
I like turned and looked out into the distance. I don't know if that was on camera, but I turned and looked
Yeah.
out in the distance, just like not really processing what just happened. And then I turned around, and then I started having a conversation. I think it was with like Athena and Daphne, and I think Natalie was there too. And then I started crying, and I was like, oh my gosh, so embarrassing. I was like, I don't want to leave. Like, at this point, I'm more sad about leaving my friends, and like I had them around me too.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like bawling my eyes out. I was so upset. And then I remember as soon as the ball dropped, there was one guy that like almost lost it on the person that dropped it, and I'm like, dude, that's a little too much. Like, he was like, what, how did you miss that? And then everyone's like, whoa, like, you cannot blame it on the one person or whoever it was, because it was just not, like, you can't do that. You can't.
Right,
like,
right.
you're working as a team. So we were all devastated, kind of just really down in the dumps up there. And then they made us sit up there for like an hour after it happened, and like no one really told us what was going on. And then I remember Daphne came up to me and she was like, just so you know, I think they're reviewing footage right now, and so like don't lose all hope. And when she said that, I was like, don't tell me that though, because then if they review footage and we are out anyway, like, that just sucks. Like, don't try to give me that hope. And so then we just sat on the floor for a long time, and I remember me, Athena, and Caleb were just staring out into the distance, like accepting our fate, talking about going back to reality, and like how like depressed we were about going back to the real world. Right. And like we just got into the city at this point, so we were like so devastated that we had to leave. And then we like started getting petty and stuff, but
oh my gosh.
I don't know, like we were just like, oh, you know what? This city isn't that cool. When in reality it was, or we were just trying to make ourselves, I don't even want to be here. Yeah, like just trying to cope with the fact that we just lost. Yeah. So flash forward like an hour. It had to have been like 2 a.m. at this point, maybe. Right. Or like, like 2 or 3 a.m. And so Jimmy comes back out, and he's like in the middle of the 2 platforms in front of like the big screen. He's like, all right, we have something to show you guys. Can we direct your attention to the screen? And then so they show us dropping the ball first, and he was like, so this was their 4th ball. And then when he said that and like showed our video first, we were like, wait a second, because that might mean that there was a discrepancy. So I was standing there like waiting for them to play the video, and then he's like, and this is for No Star. And he plays the video, and oh man, I feel so bad for the one kid that actually did drop it. I know. But
poor guy.
It was the first ball, and they replay it, and it drops from the ceiling. His hands are like this close to the ball. The ball goes directly through his hands. It bounces, and then bounces back up, and he caught it. So that's why they didn't catch it like the first like time. I guess it was so quick, and like we watched the video in slow mo. I think because it was so fast. But the second they showed us that, we all just turned to each other like I was in pure shock. I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, and the camera was like right here. I was like,
that's like, so awesome.
And I remember Athena was right next to me. We like hugged, and then Daphne was like, I told you. And I remember me and Athena were like, wait, we're still in it. Like we're moving on. We got so good. Excited. It was such a crazy feeling going from the lowest low to like the highest possible high. Oh my gosh, it was so crazy.
That is so, and it was crazy too watching, because we saw like the clips that they showed and everything, and like when the guy didn't catch the first ball, like his whole team, they're all like they knew. Yeah. And so I'm like, why did it take so long?
Dude, that's what we talked about too. Like
you can see in the video, they all recognized it. They're all like, Like,
Yeah.
we're done.
And it's like the fact that they celebrated when ours went
I know.
red, and then we found out that they actually
But-
knew and they lost. I was like,
Yeah, that was so confusing.
so y'all
I don't
didn't
know what
like point
happened.
it out or whatever. But obviously, like if they thought they were gonna stay in the game, I guess they
Yeah, like,
they would
they're gonna
follow
not say
everything.
anything,
Yeah, they're not
yeah.
gonna say anything. So that was my floor experience, and that took a whole night to film.
Yeah.
So
I remember we got done filming that and the sun was coming up.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it took forever to
It was
review the
so-
footage.
yeah.
Like they took so long. So that
Right.
was the only one for that night. And
Yeah.
so we went to bed, and the next day I was feeling great because I
Yeah.
didn't have to do anything.
Dude.
I was like, I'm already through. I know I had to watch the other floors go through, so
Right.
I was feeling on top of the world, and like everyone else was tweaking
No,
out.
I know, because that night, like, y'all went, and, like, my friends, like, some of my friends got eliminated, and that one, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I could actually, like, go home. And so that night, I stayed up so long, like, talking to, like, Carl and Nolan and all of them. Like, I just stayed up so late, which that was so trippy to my brain still. I was like, I was like, I'm just hanging out with them. Like, I've just been talking to Carl for an hour. Like, it was just so weird. I was like, what is happening? Because I was like, what if I go home tomorrow?
Right.
I was like, so I like went to bed so late because I was like trying to get every moment I could.
Yeah,
just in case.
Yeah, I remember I stayed up really late because I had no worries in the world.
Yeah,
and then
right,
we
right.
sat. I remember like Carl and I wonder if we were
sitting at the same table.
I don't know. Ben was there.
Oh, probably.
Probably then.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Little did we know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we stayed up really late, like
Yeah.
talking to them because we were just chilling, and that's when they signed like my Feastable.
Yeah, that's when they signed my
Yeah,
Feastable.
yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, and then
That
I
was a good
remember
time.
they came in the next day and like Carl like played werewolf with like my friend group and everything, and it was just so fun. Like that whole day was just so chill up until I was like, oh wait, I have to like, compete tonight, and I was like literally tweaking. But yeah, no, my floor experience. So we got like ready for the like shoot and everything, and so they had like our people go get mic'd up. They assembled like our whole group together and stuff. And I remember like I like had spent the day before like with like Carl and Nolan and all of them. And so then when I was like lined up for the thing, I was like talking to Akira, and they knew Akira from like other videos and stuff. And so they'd be like, "Oh, Akira, like you know Ivy?" And he'd be like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Ivy, that means you have plot armor. Like you're good. Like you're gonna make it." And I was like, "Yo, they keep telling me I have plot armor." And so I was like so pumped. I was like, "You know what? You're right. Like I got Akira, so like I'm chilling. Like I'm good." And then they kept telling him, they're like, "Akira, like don't F over Ivy. Like do not F over Ivy." And he's like, I'm not. And we had to go up to floor 3 for our challenge, and we still didn't know what the heck was going on. But we'd seen like them roll in like a giant red solo cup, so we had like our theory that it was like cup pong. And so we got up there and they had the giant white like balls, and so we were like, oh crap, like we're playing cup pong. I remember like Jimmy explained it and everything, and I have the worst like throwing skills ever. And so we were trying to think of like different strategies, like, oh, do we send the best people now or later or whatever. And I was tweaking, like I was really like, because at first they're like, oh, let's send all the worst people, but there was also a rule where if like one team had a ton of points at the beginning, it was just mercy ruled. So I was like, don't send the worst people at first. I'm like, then we're gonna be so cooked. And I was literally like, I could not chill out that day, which I can't wait to see like the footage, because I was standing like right next to Nolan like when I was reacting to everything, and I think I was like actually tweaking. Like I'm gonna look like I'm actually losing my mind. Akira went, and so I went with Akira and JC to go line up, because everybody had to stand in like the middle next to Jimmy when they threw. So first JC went, and I think he made it, and it was like kind of crazy. And then it was just me and Akira, and then Jimmy was like, "Oh my gosh, like, do you feel like you have a plot armor because you're staying next to Akira?" And I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, they all keep saying that. And then Akira went. I don't know if he made it or not. Which we were pretty far ahead of the other side, and so I felt like good. I was like, okay, like I'm not too stressed out. And so while we were waiting for them to like set up the shot, I was like staying there with Jimmy, and he's like, yeah, like how do you feel? Like you're about to go and everything. And I was like, oh, like I'm pretty nervous. Like I just want to do well for my team. And he was like, no. He's like, you're so far ahead. He's like, you don't even need to make it. And I was like, I don't even need to make it. I was like, you're so right. I'm good. And he's like, yeah, you're fine. I remember I tried to say something like while I was throwing it. I don't know what I said, but I like threw it, and he's like holding his microphone. He goes, oh wow, wow. And he goes, wow, that was the worst throw we've seen. Oh, no, he said, wow, he goes, that was really bad. And I was like, and he was like, I think that was the worst throw we've had all night. And I was like, oh my. And I just stood there for a second. He was like, all right, like, you can go. And I was like, dude, I was like, Jimmy. I was like, didn't have to cook me like that.
Wait, you know what's so funny about that?
What?
I vividly remember him saying that, and we were all like laying there. We were all like, "Wow, I would feel really bad if I was that girl."
Oh no! Because then I literally like walked back, and I got like mixed up in everything. And then people were like, "Wait, who was it that he said did really bad?" And I was like, "Yeah, who was that?" I was like, "Yeah, who did do really bad? Like that's crazy."
That's so funny.
But it makes me feel better because my friend Dave, he went up to go, and he has a tattoo of LeBron.
Oh.
And so he showed it off. He's like, I got this tattoo, so that means like I'm good. And then Jimmy like made a whole thing of it. He's like, oh, get a close up of the tattoo and like him throwing it and everything. And he like missed. He like missed so bad. And so then I was like, ooh, like, it's not just me.
Yeah.
But we ended up doing like completely fine, and so we ended up winning. And then the other team, like they like knew they couldn't win, so then they kept going for like the money shots, because there was like ones where you could get points for your team or just go for money. And so they started shooting for like the money. But then we were so hyped, like we were going crazy when we were like safe. And I thought that was the end of the night for us, but nope,
it was not.
But it definitely wasn't.
It was also fun because when we were watching, we couldn't tell like who was throwing because we were sitting in the back,
right?
So we couldn't see anyone. And then I remember at one point, like they were streaming it on the little TVs, like on the ground, and there was this drone that we were watching, and the drone was only showing the money shot, and we kept being like, hey, zoom out, because we wanted to see the shots. And then Jimmy turned around and he was like, what are you guys saying? We're like, zoom out this shot. He's like, I don't know what they're saying, but they're yelling at me, and I don't want them to get mad at me.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, because we kept yelling because we wanted to see, and then eventually they fixed it. We were like, yeah, like we were crazy. And then it went back to the original shot. We were like, no, dude. And then eventually they fixed it, but I just remember that was so funny. That's so funny.
I remember him saying that. He's like, turn around and say, I don't.
Yeah, like he could not understand what we were saying.
That was so good.
Yeah.
And then they did like the 2 other floors.
Right, you're right. And in my opinion, the second floor was probably the worst one you could get. Like having to get people to self-eliminate, that's just so hard.
Right. And we were locked away. They put us in our like dorm like rooms like while that challenge was happening, so we couldn't like say anything to the teams. Yeah. And then they revealed like who won in front of us. So we just watched our friend Ben like get out. Like we watched like the square literally turn red, and they all realized for the first time that they were out.
It was so sad.
It was so sad.
It was so sad.
Like I can't believe that. That was so brutal.
Yeah, and what's so weird too, like 2-star was the only floor on our tower that didn't go through. Right. Because 4-star, 3-star, and 1-star all won. Yeah. So Ben was the odd one out, and I
think it was flipped. I think that all of those, and then 2-star was the only one that lived.
No, 2-star got out.
I thought it was the other way, because I had 3 no star.
Are you sure?
I think so. In my notebook, I have that too.
Dude, whatever.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. One side.
Doesn't even matter. Yeah, and then we didn't get to watch floor 1 either, so it was just trivia. People in our dorms were like trying to listen to it, but we weren't allowed to be out there for some reason. I guess because we could have like whispered an answer or something. I don't know. But so we finished all the floors, right?
Right.
And we're like, oh, we're done for the night. We can finally go to bed. And
I don't know what you thought was happening, but I thought they were getting a shot of us just like standing in our teams that survived.
No, I thought that at first.
And so I'm like lined up with all my friends, and I remember Carl came over and was talking to all of us, and then we were like, he said something. He was like, "Oh, how do you feel?" And I was like, "I'm just so relieved that I can just go to bed and not have to worry about another challenge until tomorrow." And he was like, "Yeah, you definitely don't have another challenge tonight." And I was like, "Oh my!" I was like, "You're kidding!" I was so devastated after that. I was like, "No."
It was so late too.
It was so late.
The sun was rising by the end of the last challenge. So the challenge was, I was like wrapped in my sleeping bag, like ready to just like go chill out.
Oh my god.
And then he makes the announcement, he's like, actually, we have one more challenge. And then basically they made us select a leader out of however many people are on our team, 60 people, so it's kind of hard to come on an agreement. But my group, like my experience, everyone was just pointed to Jeremy, and from there was like no discussion.
Right.
There was no discussion. It was like,
that's so good.
Everyone kind of knew that he wouldn't betray a bunch of people like that, just because like his character and like how he's been acting and like stuff like that. So my line felt pretty chill with our pick.
Right.
And then
mine, so the first half of the line was like all people I knew. And so we were all like, oh, let's get Akira. Because Akira's been offered like a lot of prizes in the past. So we were like, he's not going to betray all of us. Like he wouldn't do that. And so we were trying to get Akira to be the leader. And then in the back of the line, people there knew Dino. And I didn't know Dino. And people were saying him. And we were like, oh, why him? Like, we don't know. And so he ended up giving like this speech about like how like his house is paid off. He has like older kids. Like he doesn't need the money essentially. And he was like, yeah, I have a pension. And I remember sitting there, I was like, oh, and I was like, I don't know what a pension is. And everyone was like, yeah, pension. And so we started like chanting pension, and I was like, this is this guy. And so I like gave him like a handshake right before he went up. I was like, I trust you. Like I thought that was gonna like change anything. Like maybe he won't betray us. Give him a handshake. Oh my gosh, how did you feel like when they were up there? Because we all selected our team leaders.
It was a scary thought, because technically one of the leaders could have taken the prize money at a time, right? So only one line would get eliminated. And Harrison was chosen for his line. I think it was 4-2. And I was like, okay, well, I know he's not going to hit it. Which is funny because people on his team were like not really trustful. They just didn't really know him. In my head, I was like, Harrison's not going to hit it. I feel like Jeremy's not going to hit it. And then who was the last? Wasn't T the final?
Yeah, T.
Yeah, T was the level 1 representative. So when they were up there, I was honestly so tired. I like felt like I wasn't even getting anxious. I also had trust in Jeremy, so I think that was also a thing. But when the money started counting up,
and it went faster and faster.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really scary.
I remember when the money started going up faster, like right when it picked up, I literally fell to the ground. And I remember a camera like followed me to the ground, because I was like, oh my gosh, because you realized just how much money that they could win.
Yeah. So the anxiety was high. But we're gonna cut it off there. I think that's the end of episode 2, and the results will come out in episode 3, I'm assuming. So be ready for that. That's it.
See you in episode 3.
See ya.